bronche, that's how we say brunch.
Here's to the ladies who say basic with their lunch.
You want that bochinche?
Paquete con pinche, you hear what they said?
Now super busy glasses clinking.
Aquí en esta mesa se respeta como ñón.
Si la copa está llena, yo te doy la bendición.
So what if we get ratchet?
We from the Bronx.
That's it.
Don't get it twisted.
We be going to Manhattan. Be a queen.
Be a boss.
Ladies who brunch and pop it off.
Hey, we pop and pop it off. We pop.
All right. The episode's about to start.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ladies Who Bronche. I am Julissa.
What's good, everybody? This is Skittles.
And this week, we are back from our mid-season break from the holidays. And we have such a dope duo with us. They are goddesses and jefas in their own rights. Posh Palma Styles. Who the fuck are y'all?
Woo!
Hi guys, we're here con la bachata.
Happy New Year!
I love how you said dope duo. I'm gonna grab that and I'm gonna steal
it. Take the random girl, do it.
Hi guys. Okay, so I'll go into let you know. So my name is Gelsandra Guzman, aka better known as Jelly, with a G. I have a fashion merchandising background. So I went to school at FIT, graduated in 2010, pretty much did 10 years in corporate America. I did 5 years with an e-commerce retail site where I started working in their showroom. So I helped with styling. I helped with like getting the sets ready, like for models for next day. Then I went into doing like logistics for all of the events, you know, prior to them being launching on the actual site. And the last thing that I got into was buying, which was my favorite. So I was living in New York City. I know you guys are in New York. We're in Miami. We miss it. It's dear to me. Pero nada, I was living in New York and I was able to go out to market, you know, and learn about all these amazing brands, all these amazing designers, all these amazing things, and choosing the right assortment, you know, for what our customer profile was. I moved. So anyways, Valerie here, she's going to intro too. She is my sister-in-law. So I am married to her older brother. That's the tea of the first tea of the night.
Yes, the first little piece of tea.
She's my comadre. She's my comadre. So we share a lot of stuff. But anyways, so I married in 2013, got pregnant, fast forward, had a baby. Moved to Tampa in 2014. And in there, I started working with the Home Shopping Network, which is pretty big. They were just bought out by QVC about 2-3 years ago, worked in their home office in buying as well. So I did that for 5 years. And then in summer of 2019, I made it down to Miami, which is where my heart belongs, which is where I will finish all the years that I have to live. Si no me voy para Santo Domingo. Pero
right.
Nothing. I love it here. So I moved here, did like a 6-month gig. For me, this was perfect because it was like New York, but like the tropical version. Me fui de New York porque le estaba yendo al frío. So I'm like, oh, no. I need something hot. And then I was like, dude, Miami is full of Latinos. So I'm like, this is amazing. So I have Spanish speaking, I have heat, and then I'm an hour and a half away from Santo Domingo. Yeah, it was so, you know, it was perfect. So when I moved to Miami, I did about a 6-month gig with a freelance company here in marketing, had some experience there. And then in January of 2019 was where the idea of Posh Palma Styles was born. I'm going to hand it over to Valerie so she could tell you a little bit about her individual story, and then we'll talk about the story. Yay! ¿Y de dónde tú eres?
Dominicana.
¿Dónde está esa flag tan linda atrás de Julissa?
Hi guys, so I am Valerie, the Jefa creator. I was born in Providence, Rhode Island. We were both born in Rhode Island. And when I was 2 years old, mi mamá dijo, pa República Dominicana. So I stayed in Dominican Republic for about 9 years or 10 with my grandparents and my family from there. Then I came back to the US. I was like, I'm not having this. Went back when, you know, that happened a few times. But then when I was a junior in high school, I was like, Mommy, I want to go back to the States. I want to learn English. I want to go and achieve a higher education in that country. And I want to, you know, live there and be with my siblings who were also here at that point. So I came back from DR when I was a junior to Providence, Rhode Island. I graduated high school. And I was like, all right, I'm going to college, you know. I was like feeling myself. I got this. I'm doing this thing. And I applied to like around 12 schools and I got rejected from like around 10. Like most of them just literally were like, sis, bye. And I'm like, okay, what's the issue? And at that point, I didn't really speak the language. Like it wasn't to the point where like I could have and engage in a conversation. And also my SAT scores were like really bad. So I was like, all right, Valerie, move to Tampa. Jelly was living in Tampa with my brother. I needed to be a place where I was going to be stable, focused. So I went to a junior college that was transitioning into a community college where literally I was like, there was no people my age pretty much in that school. Like people were over 40. There were, like a lot of night classes. And I went there and I learned the language and I started taking like remedial classes. Like 2 + 2 = 4. Okay, I got this. All right, cool. And it was nice because I felt like at that point I needed to humble up and do the work and walk the walk. How they say, okay, let me walk the walk, learn my shit, and then I could aim for something, different, not higher but different. So I graduated with my associates, and then I applied this time around to 16 schools. And I got accepted to like around 14. But I'm like, hey, I'm coming through. Make some room.
Come on.
So I decided to go to Clark University in Massachusetts. They gave me the most financial aid and it just made sense. So I graduated with my bachelor's in 2019, May of 2019, in international relations, so like political science and marketing. And then when graduation was coming, I was like, all right, what am I going to do with my life? Graduation is coming. I'm an entrepreneur in my heart. So like, am I going to kick off a marketing agency that I was like doing like as a side hustle or what? And I ended up applying to a Fulbright scholarship to represent like a binational fellow in another country where you work and you represent like the government, and then it's nice. So the one I applied to, it was specialized in business. So I had the opportunity to move to Mexico and work there in a company in the impact investing field. So like investing in women-led companies in Latin America. So it was really dope because I was doing marketing for this amazing company that's helping women. I love that shit. And I was getting half of my MBA done. But then, I was living my best life, drinking my micheladas. I was feeling myself, embracing my sexuality, discovering things about who I am that I didn't even know that I was capable of feeling or being. And then Corona happened. And then I got a letter from the former president, que ya gracias a Dios no está, saying that I needed to leave Mexico because they were going to close the border. And I was like, all right, I'm out. So then I moved to Miami, and that's where basically we started working on Posh Palma, but now Jelly's going to talk to you guys about the idea, how it was formed, and then how we got to business.
Love it.
So pretty much the idea, como le mencionamos, was in January of 2020. I used to do styling here as well in Miami. So yo tenía una clienta that invited me to go to a showroom with her. And she called me and she was like, Jelly, I want you to come with me. They want to gift me a couple of pieces from this brand. I said, of course, let's go. So I go with her. We do everything. We do our jam. We leave and we drive back home together. Y ella me dice a mí, but I remember you telling me about you wanting to do something like this, like build kind of like a store concept, what's going on with that? She's like, look at this lady. Like the lady was running her showroom out of her house, out of like, she had a 2-floor house, and the first floor, ella literalmente tenía like 2-3 couches, bien lindo, the place was super cute, a nice rug, a little center like for people to take pictures, and she was by appointment only. So she would only take appointments like on Instagram, and she would let certain people obviously into her home. And when I left from there, como que empecé a maquinar, like she spoke to me, and I didn't sleep, for like a week, and I didn't talk to nobody. I was like what's happening, because in my mind, now I have 2 kids, I'm married, and I had this freelance gig, and I'm like, when am I going to do this, And for me, it was like, oh, I'm gonna do this when I'm like in my 40s. Like, ya cuando los muchachos estén más grande, I have less, buscando toda la excusa, the way that we do when we're trying to start a project, because it's not perfect and everything's not perfect, all the surroundings aren't perfect. So after like a week and a half, I called Valerie, and I was like, because I
was in Mexico.
So she was in Mexico. So we have a really great relationship. We have great communication. And of course, I respect her in her industry, and so does she on mine. So when I got together and all the ideas started popping up, I'm like, okay, yo podría hacer esto sola, pero para mí se me sentía como imposible. Y aside from that, I'm like, I wanted to compartirlo con ella. So la llamé y le dije, mira, I pitched it to her, claro y pelado como me salió. And I'm like, mira, I went to do this. This is what happened. The store, like, yo, let's do this like now. What do you think? You know? And she jumped on it like right away. She was like, of course, like whether, you know, at that point, it was like, whether you want to involve me or not, I'm gonna help you. So I was like, all right, perfect. So that was January. In March, borders closed. She came to Miami.
Crying.
She came to Miami crying because she was out chilling, fucking exploring Mexico, like drinking, and it was
helping
amazing.
woman. Like, it was amazing.
Chilling.
She made her way down to Miami. And honestly, I think at that point in March, we evaluated for about a 2-3 week period what we were going to do because of COVID. You know, at this point, everything was shutting down. The country shut down. And we were like, what do we do? You know, do we launch this, you know, digitally? Do we wait? Do we hold off? What's going on? Because it was like they closed the country for a month, but then it kept going. And we were like, we don't know what's happening. And at that point, we were like, you know what? We're going to do this because it felt right. We trusted our intuition. It was something that was coming from our hearts. We poured everything into it. It was honestly, and it still is, an escape for us. Like, we do it because we don't even follow the money. Like, I know the money's going to come because that's how much I believe in it, because I do it with my heart. And I'm like, yo, the money's going to come at some point. Like, I'm going to just, universe will take care of that part. But I know I'm going to put in mi corazón completo. So that's what we did. So the store launched on June 18th of 2020 during a pandemic. So we are very proud of that. The store right now represents other women designers, other women brands, and other women artisans. So right now they're all women led. Pretty much, I think like 90% of them are Latinas.
Yeah.
Which is
it just happened, but it just happened too.
It just happened. Like, it's not like we're like, oh, just targeting Latinos.
No.
It just ended up happening that way. And we're working right now on our own private label in Santo Domingo. So we're going to drop it.
Designed by us.
Designed by the both of us.
Yes.
Así que,
Wow.
second gem we're spilling here with you guys. Pero, that is taking up a lot of our time right now, is this project, but we're working with an amazing design team in Santo Domingo. We are very blessed, very grateful. Pero el website ahora mismo está así, está como que highlighting and giving the visibility to these amazing women-led brands. You know, that is what we are about. We are out there always searching. I know 2020 kind of stopped us with the whole like traveling thing and all the restrictions, because we have dreams of being able to go everywhere global
to find
these beautiful like findings, you know, of this beautiful work, of these, you know, beautiful women around the world. So we're very blessed and we're very lucky, and I'm gonna let Valerie talk about the community component that we have to the store.
So back to the chisme. So when I came back from Mexico, you know, we were like, all right, we want to have a store, but then the question was, how can we be different? How can we do something that aligns with the perspective and like the ideology? Like, we are like community advocates. So like, how can we do something that's different? Porque una ropa, okay, chévere, la intención está ahí, pero what can we do that can help us elevate not only our voices, but the other voices of other women? So we started a series called Spoken Jefas, which we're going to be highlighting you both.
Yeah.
But in that space, we just want to highlight like those people that are doing incredible things in the community, and we want to not like be a platform and be como crear el camino for generations to come, and for women to look at us and be like, sis, I look like that too. You know, they did that and the freaking pandemic, and I want to do that too. And also because we hold on very strong the idea of like collaborating and like uplifting other people and making sure that we're making room, because it's one thing to take up space, which I love. I'm like always down to take up space, because I fought, like our ancestors fought to take up the space. So let's take up space today. But it's like, how are you facilitating space too? So, you know, that is different. And so we started doing that with the component of spoken jefas. And that's something that we love it very much and that we try to always work on, you know, like Yeli mentioned, we have, you know, we work with artisans and designers, but we created a program called She Rises just for that. So we can make sure that we continue to offer visibility and representation to other people. And we just want to be a platform. Like if you go to our Instagram, you know, like you fuck with that because it's like it's a vibe, it's a mood. It's like we're offering resources, we're offering tips, we're giving back. And I think that our goal is to eventually continue to grow in that aspect and elevate our impact and multiply that impact that we are currently doing. And it's basically what drives us, you know, like
if we could 100% of our time, we'd be doing community work.
Exactly. So, pero también ahí es que I know we're going to be talking into that. It also comes, you know, you have to monetize what you're doing too. So that's where we are always battling, but we're making it work. And we are just blessed and honored to be in a space like this one where we can talk and what we're saying is being welcome, not just by you two, but your whole ass dope community.
Yeah, our community is really dope.
Yes,
and like even between us, like we have shared community. Like when I'm on your page and I see like, oh, who else follows the page? We share a significant amount of community and collaborators even. Like I always say, Carolina, Miss Rizos, esa es mi prima, porque ella tiene apellido Contreras y yo soy Contreras.
Esa es tu prima.
Exacto.
Honestly, she's like everything.
And
like
she's out there doing.
She's amazing. And I think the fact that we can share that says so much about nuestra colaboración and us as individuals, human beings.
Yes. I have one random question. When it comes to you guys deciding to design your own line, are you guys drawing it or is it like, is somebody else drawing it? What goes into that? Like, how do you decide, oh, I'm going to start my own line?
So we've been working with these amazing brands, but in the idea of Posh Palma Styles being born, there's always been a passion for the way we dress. Like Valerie and I salimos, para no ponértelo like too confusing. Like we go out and like we're very into what we wear. It could be a bata. Like it doesn't matter what we wear. We love clothes. Like
we love clothes.
We love clothes.
And
like,
mixing like patterns and doing
like having
things.
fun with it. And like I always talk about fashion as like it's a form of self-expression and it's to each its own. And it's like si yo te doy una blusa, si los cuatro ahora mismo no tenemos una blusa, los cuatro nos la vamos a poner de diferente manera. And it's going to look different. So it's beautiful. It's art, you know, it's creative. Like it's from the street. Like it's like you find inspo everywhere. So when we started when we started the brands, like, you know, Posh Palma Styles, we always knew that we wanted to do our private label brand. We didn't think it was going to happen this fast, you know, but the opportunity came up because we met someone. So we met a designer, una muchacha,
Dominicana, se llama Winnie.
Ella se llama Winnie Rodriguez.
Winnie.
Shout out to Winnie.
Yes.
Shout out to Winnie.
Shout out to Winnie. She's gonna be all up in here, but she's the one pretty much sketching. So right now we're in the process where she's already done the sketching. We've approved the designs, but we had gone back and forth with her.
And we made changes. And
we've made changes. Right now we're doing the sourcing of the fabrics. So now we're looking at cuál es tela, cuál es prints, cuál es colores.
Exactly. Y también la producción, como ya estamos hablando with some people in DR, you know, like a creative team that we can have there. But something that I wanted to add into that is that something that was very humbling, fue como que when it came to the point, like the opportunity showed up, it was nice to see that we found somebody that does something that we don't do. And you respect that, you honor that, you give that girl the shout out because she's sketching that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's beautiful to see how we were able to honor that. Like, I'm a digital girl, you know, like that's my shit. I'm not here like sketching that. I don't do that. And then Jelly here is like a fashion girl. She works with products. So like, that's her thing. And then like adding Winnie, somebody that it's passionate. And in Dominican Republic, we could be straightforward. There's not that much opportunity in the fashion industry. And she's out here receiving that opportunity through Posh Palma Styles. which is like a freaking baby, because you know what I'm saying?
But
So
now,
it's like,
if all babies grow
for
up.
now, but it's nice to see how we're offering her a space in our platform to do what she loves, and we're respecting and honor Winnie.
Yeah, exactly.
Winnie, you know?
Yeah.
I love that. And I love that you even asked that question, Skittles, because it, like, when you hear things like that, I'm like, oh, great, they're starting it. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, it'll just get done. But it's always interesting and important, I think, for people to recognize that when you're dreaming out loud and putting your visions together, there's never harm in tapping on someone's shoulder and saying, hey, actually, I need help, right? It doesn't mean your idea isn't yours. It's still like collaboration is still yours. Like it's still both your parents' child, right? Like it's not like you're more or less your mom's child than you are your dad's child. It takes two, right? And so in collaboration, it's like actually it takes that level of collaboration. And if it's in the best interest of the ultimate goal, then what's the problem?
Exactly. No, the end goal is just for it to come to life, you know? And what do we do for us to have it like that? And especially that we're such big advocates about working in conjunto, like working in team, working in community. And right away when we wanted to do this, we were like, yo, we're doing this in DR. Like, why would we do it somewhere else? Like, we're Dominican. Why would we offer that? I mean, a dream of ours is to one day own like a whole big ass team in Dominican Republic and have and offer jobs and offer like a million other amazing benefits, you know, to people over there and help as much as we can and support.
I love
yes, that's dope. All right, ladies. So now we're gonna go into our brunch questions, and the first question we have for both of you is, what is your go-to brunch plate? So when you go out to brunch, what's your go-to like order?
Bueno.
You want me to go first? So we're in Miami. So here we have a lot of Spanish places, mucho cafeteria latina. Like normally that's where we go, like when we go for brunch. I like to have sweet and salt. I am a big sweet person. I think I told you guys, but I love waffles. Yes. So either waffles or French toast, but then I have to have some sort of like omelet, like some sort of like the eggs con una, and here we have Cuban toast. So uno huevito con una tostada cubana, bien rico con un chin de mantequilla, mi cafecito con leche, and we're good.
Yes.
I'm going to break it to you all, but my ideal brunch is un mango.
Yeah.
Sorry. When I think of brunch, como que I you know, like I'm like mango con salami o jamoneta, o no, longaniza con queso frito y huevo frito, pero con la yema blandita.
Yes.
And onions. And I'm soñando if you want to just so you can close that. But yeah, I feel like I'm not a big fan of like como lo, I don't know, como la toast con eso. I'm more like un mangú because like I like to eat heavy in the morning. So that's my go-to.
Yes. That's good. Me and Skittles have been known to bust some mango at breakfast. Havana Cafe is one of our favorite spots.
Oh, I've been to Havana Cafe.
And
they have a tres golpes. Oh my God. But then it also comes with a Cuban empanada.
Ay, Dios mío. But we gotta go when you two come down here.
Everything like a Cuban sandwich, basically, and una empanada.
Oh, wow, qué rico.
The mimosa and the sangria unlimited.
No, unlimited, bottomless, please, bottomless.
Yes. So then that goes right into our next question. What is your go-to brunch drink? What are you drinking at brunch?
I love a peach Bellini.
Yes.
Skittles.
I'm about to put you on because I have a great. I've mentioned this on like 5 different episodes, but I have a great recipe.
Pues mándamela, please. Mándamela.
Bueno, I'm gonna be basic. I like my orange juice. Un juguito de naranja, freshly squeezed. That's it. You have me in there.
That's cute. Just
la naranja del campo, que you have to take the horse to get to the
exprimirla.
And then go to like a neighbor's house to find how to like exprimirla. That type of orange.
So tell us, what was it like going out to eat when you were growing up?
You can go first.
I'm trying to think if I remember going out to eat. So my parents split up when I was like 3 or 4. I can't remember. So me going out to eat, like with my mom, all I can remember that it was with my tias, like, you know, and later we'll talk about this, but it always like either, you know, them talking about something going on in the family, some sort of bochinche, or with my dad. Like my dad remarried like 2-3 years later. So I had a stepmom. At that point, like me and her weren't clicking for a while. So it was always a little uncomfortable. I would always try to evadir la situación, like to be in places with her and my dad. We later got to a better place, but I pretty much grew up with her and my mom. I can't remember like really specific feelings of, I would always love though being more with my mom because I felt more like homey, like I felt more like comfortable, you know, like happier.
I think I remember mostly for like birthdays or like occasions. So like there's a place called La Fogata. It's in Tenares. I lived in Salcedo, which is the smallest provincia of Dominican Republic. And I remember going to La Fogata for like birthdays. So it was always like, okay, los jeans, más chévere. You know what I'm saying? Or I remember that I used to live in Dominican Republic with my aunt and her husband, and I called them mommy, papi, because I was a kid, you know, they were my parents until I was like 10, and then I realized it wasn't like that. But I remember that we would go to Santiago to go food shopping sometimes to La Sirena, like for Christmas. Yeah. And it was like, you know what I'm saying? It was like, oh, for Christmas, we food shop at La Sirena to buy the grapes, the red grapes. And I'm like, okay. So we would eat like in La Sirena, like in the food court in La Sirena. So like those were like really like good memories because we would only do that for like happy moments. Or si había una cita en el doctor y hay que ir para Santiago to the doctor. Okay, so then those were like sad moments eating. You know what I'm saying? Because you're going to the doctor, what's happening? Right. But we didn't really used to go out to eat like that, pero era más como, let's go to the Pica Pollo or let's go to the parque to buy a pastelito de huevo for breakfast, you know, like things like that.
Yes, I love that. And I love that you highlighted La Sirena because very seldom do I get to like get into DR culture that deep with people because a lot of my Dominican friends are Dominican American and they don't have a deep relationship with the island. But La Sirena is like, for those who don't know, it's almost like a Walmart, but it has a food court in it with legit like like food, like beans, bacalao, like
it's like a one-stop shop. Like you're in there desde la que te levanta hasta la tarde.
Yeah, like that's how we would go when I was like, we would go to like buy the school supplies too, for instance. Okay, the whole day to La Sirena.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. So it's its own special thing. And I've been known to, even in my late years, when we go to my mom would be like, I know, vamos a comer La Sirena when we don't feel like cooking. So
yeah. Yes. And now they have a lot of good products for the curly.
Oh, yes.
I was there a little bit ago and
I was gonna say I have to check. I haven't been to DR in like 2 years, but when I went, era de rápido para 1:15. So I didn't like get
so you didn't get to explore.
But before then, I haven't been to La Sirena in a minute, but it is.
Well, I invite you to go and check that aisle.
Yeah. All right. So fast forward to adulthood. We go out to eat. What is your favorite bochinche topic to discuss over a meal?
Clothes. ¿Qué se puso aquella? ¿De dónde se? ¿Y ese vestido? ¿De dónde salió ese vestido? Like, what did she look at herself before she left the house? Like,
oh no.
That's like my bochinche. Clothes, like always clothes, because it's the first thing I see is the first thing that attracts my eye.
That's a really good one. I feel like I always end up in like sexual conversations. Like I don't know why, but I'm always like, oh, entonces qué pasó? And then like I don't have a filter when it comes to like things like that. So I'm always like, ¿y te gustó lo que hicieron? Ay, no me diga eso. You know, so like, I don't know why.
You know what's good with Valerie that I love? Sometimes I'm like, okay, I gotta rewind. She likes lujos y detalles.
Yes.
Si tú le vas a dar una historia a ella, no le digas, Valerie, mira lo que hizo tu hermano y me regaló que... No.
What
Dale
happened? You
rewind.
walking into the house.
¿Cómo
you
fue que
saw
pasó?
him. What was his reaction when he saw you? Like, yo, like,
oh my God.
it's because I love psychology too, and like behavioral and like things like that. So I'm always like interested in all the details, but I always end up in like sexual conversations with people, like me questioning everything. And it's
You want to know the details. They're telling the story.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Those are like juicy details. They're good.
yes.
Same. Nosotros somos prima entonces porque.
Tú, Carolina y yo. Oh my God, yes.
Las
And
primas.
me and Skittles could just sip our peach Bellini and we'll be happy.
Right.
Listening.
All right. Well, now we are moving into our cheers to the ladies who section, where we shout out dope people doing dope shit. Goodbye, number 45. And hello. Well, I want to talk about J-Lo because there was an inauguration. Yes, there was a lot of other stuff, but let's talk about the real details we care about. So J-Lo's performance. First of all, I'm very interested in J-Lo's outfit and what you guys thought about the fashion. Well, not just J-Lo.
Yes.
What did you guys think about the fashion of the day?
No, the fashion was on point.
On point.
Like,
Okay.
Obama. Like,
Gaga too was like.
I really did. I loved her even her hairstyle.
The braid.
Ella es una persona tan iconic.
Yeah.
Lady Gaga is someone that I really look up to. She's fucking awesome. But J-Lo, honestly, like taking up the space that she always does is just it's just too much. Like she walks in anywhere and it's like, yo, I'm here.
Maddox, right?
Like I'm here and like this is this is who I am, you know?
Yeah.
And I respect her, you know, I respect her for the empire she's building. I respect her for everything she's creating out there. And she's Latina, like
yeah.
Yeah.
And also like,
Listen.
no, after you.
No, go. You first.
Okay, after the year that we went through, I was like, be freaking extra. Like we need all the extraness. Like this man is out, so like we're just celebrating with extraness, like full course meal, like everything.
Yes.
Word. No, I feel like, so first off, I thought that she looked fabulous in her white pants, ruffly, big, like, jacket. But what I was really here for was the 20 pounds of hair behind her. Like,
always.
She showed that back of the head, and I was just like, she had a whole fucking horse. A whole horse in the back of her head. And I'm like, you better fucking wear that hair like it doesn't weigh 20 pounds.
Exactly, sis. You better embarrass us.
Okay? Now, as far as the song selection.
Here comes the music teacher. Fiddles the music.
Please, teach, preach.
Here's my thing. We know that J-Lo can hold a note. But we also know that J-Lo isn't a singer.
Yeah.
You know,
Amen.
Preach.
So, because she's not a singer, right? Because in real life, as a 40, 50-something-year-old woman, she sounds like a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
Yep.
The fact that she was singing "This Land Is Your Land" made it feel like a 12-year-old was singing "This Land Is Your Land."
I felt like I was in Disney.
Yes.
Yes.
And then,
like the ride that it's a small world after
exactly.
all.
But that's because that's what that song is. Like that song is literally like that type. That's what that song is.
Yes.
So you can't take that song, put a whole orchestra on it, and then have J-Lo taking dramatic pauses like, "This land was made." Like, what the fuck? Really? You're singing a lullaby right now. Like, you put in all this. You would think that she was singing like "Unbreak My Heart" or like "My Heart Will Go On." Like, this bitch was like, "This land was made." And then let's talk about the moment that we've
It's the moment, because that's what I'm waiting for. Pause. Before the moment, the breaking into the Spanish, I appreciated the fuck out of it. I thought that it was great that she decided to say what she wanted to say, because what she was saying was basically the allegiance. She was like one nation, like some shit.
One
like
nation, under God, indivisible.
So I thought that was important, because while I wasn't watching the inauguration with my family, but the moments where it's like, yes, I'm a part of this country, I'm a part of this culture, but when you get something even as slight as the language being spoken, which I don't think in any other inauguration we've seen like another language being spoken on the Capitol steps, it was meaningful. So to me, it felt like the moment at the Super Bowl when she went like that, and it was the Puerto Rican flag, like it had that same energy. So then I'm writing this and I'm like, yes, she's saying it. And then all of a sudden, let's get loud.
Se jodió.
And I was like, what?
You were like, man, you made such an impact. And then
no, but the thing was that the passion behind it too.
I was like, is that how you want to let's get loud? Is how we want to patriotic?
Can you please sing it again? Sing it again.
Oh my God. What's funny is that on TikTok somebody had edited a version of like it goes from this land, but then they cut it to the Super Bowl dance break where she goes, let's get loud, bam, bam, bam. And I almost would have preferred that. Like I would
have lost my shit if that let's get loud was
true.
I would have been like,
yeah. She's a full-blown performer. Like full-blown performer, you know, and she's a badass at that.
Yes.
And she changes outfits 55 times. But you know,
pero como que you gotta know, como if you know, you know, como no sis. You know what I'm saying? Like after a point, it's like, yeah, pero no.
Yeah. Like I support
like you always say, like know your skills, they can follow what you love.
Yeah, like follow what you're good, embrace your goodness. Don't try because why you doing that? Like why? You know what I'm saying?
And I was like, they fucked up. Why they put her after Gaga?
I know, it was terrible.
Yeah,
like Gaga had her extra moments too, don't get me wrong. I love Gaga. Like she has her extra moments too during the song, but she can hit it. Like, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't
hold the note.
You're just like, oh, she's being extra, but she sounds good being extra, but she's being extra.
Exactly.
Yes. So
yeah.
Did you guys like the bird? To me, it looked like the Mockingjay from Hunger Games. But I was like, damn, that's a big ass.
Yeah, bird. I don't know how I feel about having a bird on me. I don't know.
It was a huge ass bird. But you know, and it's funny, like I did appreciate the fashion. Like you said, I think the fashion was on point across the board. And I know this moment is bigger than fashion. And I know that oftentimes when we talk about women in the context of politics, people go to the fashion first, but I actually think that with the new woman VP, we should make room for both truths, because it shouldn't be that we don't talk about the fashion and the stuff because it's like, oh, that's a woman stereotype. No, yes, I'm a woman. I care that Michelle came and slayed. And I also care that, you know, there was a transition of power. It can be both. We don't need to like.
Both, exactly. And we're allowed to enjoy both of the things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, why are we not allowed to enjoy the fashion when it's something that makes us feel empowered by the way that Michelle came, like power up? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like, you know what? Let's talk. You want to talk about the men's fashion? Bernie Sanders was killing it with his little mittens. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I love somebody had put up a meme that said Bernie came to the inauguration like it was on his to-do list, but it wasn't his all-day plan.
Right.
Because he had like his coat and his mittens, and he was like,
oh, he was chilling.
Like, I did appreciate the choice of colors.
Yeah, he was brown tones, it was the earth tones. You know, he does care about these. I feel like very everybody had the right colors. He came through with the green and the browns.
Yeah, he made a pit stop at the inauguration. That's what it was.
Right. But really happy to see whatever this administration hold. Obviously, I don't expect a miracle in 4 years because that's just not fair. Even and Joe Biden wasn't the Democrat that I initially wanted as president, but even the ones I wanted, I knew we're not going to be able to save all of America in 4 years. And so with those realistic expectations in mind, I really do hope that the country can start taking the foundational step towards the changes that hopefully whoever is next, whether it's, bueno, I don't think it's going to be Joe, porque ese tipo está viejo.
No.
He's like 78. So I don't know if at 82 we want somebody, I don't know, 86. Pero, you know, like I feel like he
could continue
foundational work, and on his first day también he signed a bunch of executive orders that sort of reversed a lot of things that Trump has done. There's a big focus around DACA and immigration, which is really great because Democrats are actually really notorious for not giving a good amount of emphasis on immigration past. Like Obama did the DACA thing, but there's so many other things that go under immigration that get overlooked. And it's always like, what is the shiny object of immigration? And that's what we want to focus on. But, you know, with the pressure that everybody's applying, I think that they will make some significant changes. I won't hold my breath, pero no son Trump. So that's
pero no son Trumps, yeah. Yeah, it's funny because this morning, was it this morning? I woke up and one of my best friends, she's here in my house. And I was like, how are you feeling today? Y yo como que estaba en el aire. And she was like, she said something like, we have a new president. And like, she smiled at me. And I was like, wow, yes, sis. You know, like it just feels como a good peace of mind just knowing that it's someone different.
Amen, amen.
Oh, can I have some?
Okay.
All right, ladies. So now we're going into our Tuta Loca es section where we call out motherfuckers for doing the most.
Yay!
We have that every time. People don't cheer for us. I like that. It was like,
oh, we love
How
to
can
cheer.
you not?
We're like, if you need us to be cheerleaders,
we're like dance. We can twerk out here. Like we're here. We're doing motherfuckers who are doing the most. So like
we're shouting ourselves out. No.
Well, today in Tuta Loca, we asking vaccine or no vaccine. Where do we stand on the vaccine?
Bueno, I'm getting the vaccine.
Same.
I haven't had COVID, but I'm freaked out. I've been freaked out a lot by it. And I think that it's also like we've been put through so much. And like a part of me is also like, I'm tired of whether or not knowing if I have it or not, or if I'm contaging, you know, if I'm being contagious to my little nephew who hasn't had it and I don't want him to get it. So I'm getting the vaccine.
Yeah.
So for me, ya yo coroné. I've gotten COVID, but pre-COVID, I definitely was thinking about not getting the vaccine. I don't normally do the flu shot. I've never given my kids the flu shot.
I haven't gotten it either in my life.
Yeah.
I've never gotten the flu. My son actually got the flu when he was, I think, 3 years old. But after I had COVID, not that I also had it bad, because gracias a Dios, I didn't have like terrible symptoms. You know, it wasn't like a horrible experience, but it made me see everything in a whole new way. And I was like, dude, if it's available, like, why not do it? You know, I think just all of 2020, like all that shit that we went through with COVID, it was like, ya, like at least try to, I'm not going to think about de que, no, porque quien se la pone, entonces le da, o como que all the stuff extra, like I can't think about that. Right now, I'm thinking in my box and I'm like, all right, there's a COVID vaccine, I'm going to get it.
Yeah, and also like, I think it's beyond just us. Like, I think the way I think about it, it's like, it's time for, like, I can't just think of myself individually. It's like for the sake of other people. And yes, there's a ton of research and I trust that there's people that are investigating the negative side effects, but at the same time, there's only so much you could do. ¿Te va a volver loca? No puedo volverme loca because I got to be sane because I have Posh Palma Styles, I have Raíces Media, and I have Valerie Diaz. So like, you know?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I really resonate with Jelly and you guys on the whole, like, I don't get flu shots. I have in my lifetime at some point gotten one, but it was like, I was young and I forgot even how that ended up, like how I ended up getting it. But I don't even know what it is. I don't know if it's a cultural thing, but like my mom thinks of plant medicine a lot. And so like when flu season comes, in her mind, what happens in the household is we go into preventative mode. So she starts making the té de jengibre, the ginger teas, all this, like, you know what I mean? And we're taking medication and we're very preventative. And that doesn't mean that we completely always pass maybe getting a flu. And I'm somebody who, yo me enfermo easy. I am shocked, knock on wood, que yo no me ha coronado. I'm shocked to have
I'm sorry. I just also have to take a pause for this. Ya yo coroné and coronado. I think that's hilarious. Ya yo coroné.
Yeah.
That's hello.
But it's true. I've been shocked, but I've also been very afraid of it. Like, and I've still moved because I'm one of those people who had gotten on a plane during COVID. Like, I've moved around during COVID, pero siempre with a deep fucking fear the whole way through. And I think that for me, I just have my fear around the vaccine. I think people should get it. I'm not anti-vax, so this is not going to take that corner. I'm not going to do that. But I am vax suspicious, and I am
100%.
And it's less about the fact that I don't think vaccines work. I do think vaccines work. I think anti-vax people think vaccines aren't effective and like are unnecessary. I think it's necessary. I fear the speed at which it was developed. I fear, having to trust that the research is happening along the way. Pero tengo a deep fear that at the end of it, they're going to discover some crazy ass shit that like when I'm 70 is going to bite me in the ass because I lived during the times of COVID and I needed to get a fucking vaccine. Yeah. But that is a big fear that I think can be dispelled with information. I think that part of my trusting the information has to come with trusting the people giving the information. And a lot of, for the Latinx and Black community, there's so much history of people testing things.
And like being misinformed.
Yeah. Yeah. And us being misinformed and finding out like way, way down the line. You always hear, like, I can just hear it now. I can see 10 years from now, me on the TV hearing, oh, did you get a COVID vaccine and feel these side effects? If so, call this lawyer, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Yes, call Joe. He can save you. Like, no, and I'm like, Joe, don't come for me. Like,
so I am suspicious, and I think it's a healthy suspicion, right? Like it's coming from valid things and valid ways in which our systems have deceived us in order to do what they think is best for people. So I worry a little bit, and so I'm more of the mind of I'm watching people who are brave enough to take it first. I'm watching to see how it's affecting them. And obviously it affects everybody differently, right? So it's not one catch-all thing, but I feel like, damn, if things are going well, and if in a few months, in 6 months, maybe that I'm even saying that, I'm like, bitch, maybe that's too long to wait. But I'm like, maybe even just half a year. If I'm like, damn, if we can see in half a year more, it's not just the people who just took it, but the time that they continue to take in the lab to work on it. So I'm like, if they needed more than less than a year, si cuando le toca el año, vamos a poner más o menos that the thing has been out, then I feel like I would trust it a little more because they've had time to work on it. And then, give it to me. Like, I feel a little afraid of the timing is all.
Yeah, I agree with everything that y'all said. I feel like I keep on thinking of that meme of SpongeBob looking out of the blinds at everybody else walking, like that's because that's really what it is. Like, I feel like I live in the two worlds of like, I have like my family that's suspicious, they're like, no, they're gonna put tracking devices and da-da-da-da-da. Like,
I've heard
we've gone into that suspicion, like tracking devices and they changing lifestyles and all this stuff. And like, when it comes to tracking devices, I'm like, I'm all over the internet. If they need to find me, they can find me. I don't give a fuck. But like, that shit is scary. And then like, but then I have like my friends who are like, no, the science is there. The research is there. They've said this, they said that. But that same fear of like, thinking back to like how they used to like test on Puerto Rican and, people in the Caribbean women for like birth control and shit like that. Like, what type of defects could possibly come from this vaccine that we don't see now because we took it because we were scared? But also, I was scared. I've been scared for like a whole year.
Literally.
And I'm also like, because I'm an educator, I get like that kind of like cool insight of like being one of the first people that can get it. So I'm like, at this point, I'm kind of just like, well,
what do you do?
Yeah.
I'm gonna get it. Like, I think I'm gonna get it. But I also do want to kind of like wait and see. But I'm definitely like on the road to getting it.
I think the thing that took me out of my reassurance of the vaccine, because at some point where they were like, oh, we might require it for people to fly, I was like, well, yes, I'm getting a vaccine because the bitch is not flying because
you're not living. Yeah, exactly.
And that's something that has been brought up a lot of times when I get into this discussion of like the ways that it's going to change our lifestyles. Like if you got to travel, you got to have proof of vaccine. There's talk of Ticketmaster already having protocols in place for concerts. If you want to go to a concert, you're gonna have to show.
I didn't know that. Oh,
you know,
wow.
So it's seeping into everything, you know, and these businesses already have a plan,
right?
So it's like,
but then when people throw out the conspiracy theory of like, well, of course that's going to be the case because all of these corporations are in cahoots. So, you know, you have companies, because one of the vaccine companies that's out there, Trump has stake in, right? Then one of the other ones, you know, there's all these weird Bill Gates theories that are very weird, but like he owns stock in a lot of those things. Fauci has, so that people are like, yeah, but they're making money. So don't you think it makes sense for them to want to make sure that it is pushed as much as possible? And I hear shit like that and I'm like, oh, that feels absurd, but we live in a capitalist society that doesn't care about it.
You gotta have that room of
that
like,
like maybe I should think about it. But also I just think that like Fauci was talking about it and you know, somebody had asked him the question, was it Anderson Cooper or Chris Cuomo, one of the two, where like a lot of people are asking if they take the vaccine, why do they still have to wear a mask? Like, is the vaccine doing it? And they're like, and Fauci was like, no, well, we don't know. Maybe like the vaccine can still be like living in you and you don't get sick, but like you could still.
You're like, well, what's the
like, and then so then I'm kind of like, so what's the big difference again between having it and not having it? Like I'm actually genuinely trying to understand what the difference is, because people need to respect the fact that you're putting something in my body, and I do get to be very critical of what that means, and you can't just shove it down my throat, you know, but you can put up barriers and say, well, you can't participate in flying, concerts, all types of shit if you don't do it. But then that feels so forced that it's like,
exactly,
with more proof.
You feel pressure
with more results that are like, girl, what are you talking about? Look at all these great results. And they have in their trials had successful results and some not so successful, which is normal to any medicine that we've ever taken. The difference is the speed. And that's why I'm saying it's not that I don't trust medicine, but this happened very
que apenas no ha pasado ni un año completamente.
So it's a lot, but I think we all have the right to like question it, but at the same time it's like my little brain, it's a little bit exhausted of like having to live with so much questioning, you know. Why can't I just trust you a little bit? But then it's like I can't, I'm conditioned to not trusting you,
to not trust anyone,
you know. Like it's just, it's a lot, like it's heavy stuff, and I think it's like everyone, and that's why like I try not to be judgmental when I hear people giving like a different opinion. Some people I just observe. I'm like, nah, you're talking nonsense. Go to sleep. You know, but like, you know what I'm saying? Some people do have their logical, like, you know, they're like how we're saying, the two sides of the coin, you know, and it's just hard, like, period, you know?
I just want COVID to be over.
I know.
Go back to me being.
No, and Skittles mentioned Ticketmaster, and I'm like, dude, the first thing that I'm like waiting for when this
is a concert.
It's concerts. I'm like, oh my God, I miss music. I miss like
live music and dressing up to like, you know, go to like a special event to do something that you love.
I don't even like dressing up like that, but I'm like, wow, I've become a pajama girl. I only wear, I'm wearing pajamas right. And
that's
like,
awesome.
You know what I mean? Like it's just, but it's made me for the first time, because I've never really been a fashionista in any sort of way, but it's made me want to put some pride and thought into some of what I wear when I leave my house, because I leave my house. So why not?
Because you're doing something different out of the norm, because you're so now used to wearing either yoga pants or you know, athleisure wear or gym shit or pajamas, that now people are like, oh, like when they used to have those things before at the beginning of COVID, when it was like when your highlight was going to food shopping and people were like, yo, this is my outfit to go food shopping, and people would get like all decked out. I'm like, yo, I feel you.
Real.
Normal.
I feel like even now, because going out is so limited and stuff like that, I feel like I'm repeating clothes over and over again.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I'm wearing the same shit all the time now, because it's like, if I'm not trying to get dressed up, I'm just gonna throw on the same jeans and the same shirt.
Like whatever.
Totally. That happens all here in Florida though. Things aren't like, in terms of like, como que
Y'all are regular over there. Y'all are
like, I didn't want to like, I don't know, we're like normal, like but regardless, it's not like we're out there tampoco like,
no, we don't go
really
clubbing
truly,
although the clubs are
exposing,
open, but we don't.
Clubs are open in Miami.
Well, I've seen some stuff on my Instagram from some people that I follow, like twerking competitions in clubs.
Yeah. We haven't been to clubs, but I think they're open. I don't know.
And I'm not even, please, and I would.
Yeah, if you have, you have.
Yeah. No, but we haven't, because
we would have told you if we would.
Yeah.
But I saw that in Atlanta, Future had a concert. Future the rapper had a concert, that people were like on top of each other. Like it wasn't social distance whatsoever. And I'm kind of like, okay, guys, I get the urgency of wanting normal life. But try the social distance. At least try the social. No mask. Like literally, no one was wearing masks.
Nothing.
Like not even the security that was working the fucking event was wearing a mask. I think it was like 600 people in that small little room. And I'm just,
that's a lot.
That's a whole risk. Why don't
we make progress?
Because that's what, and here's my ultimate, and I guess I'll end on this, is part of my hesitation is also coming with the frustration that fucking New Zealand didn't need a vaccine to get rid of COVID. New Zealand just had a leader that was like, no, we have to follow these rules because we do not want to find ourselves next year in a position where we can't have a normal life. And where's New Zealand now? COVID free, and people are living their normal lives out there. Again, they're back to it. Yeah. And it didn't take the vaccine. It has nothing to do with the vaccine. That's not to say that they're not going to offer it and all that stuff in the country. But I'm saying, like, if we as a country could have at least united on the idea of a lockdown that was, strict, and it was going to be hard, but that it was going to be worth by 2021, we can go to a motherfucking concert.
Sí.
Totally.
No, y también como, I don't know much about the way that New Zealand did it, but I'm sure that they did it in a civilized way.
Yeah.
Porque, por ejemplo, in Dominican Republic now, there's a lockdown. Like I was there and we were in the lockdown, and it was like, they were like basically like hitting people on the streets. You know what I'm saying? Like a palo limpio, like if you're out. So it's like, I know there had to be like a middle ground and like a civilized way to go about it, but it just wasn't implemented, and now we're here.
And in some of the countries, in some of the Nordic countries, like the Denmarks and the Swedens and all that stuff, like they were also willing to pay their citizens money, stimulus, like consistent, not because, the first chequecito que no dieron, and now we got a little,
I check back and like,
and then we're like,
I got like 6 months later.
But because the big thing here in America, no es que la gente would refuse to stay home and by any means, because obviously staying home doesn't mean that you're not allowed to step foot outside of your door. It's just like everything is shut down really, except for essential things. So you really can't, there's nothing to do outside, right? Mm-hmm. But we can't afford it. We can't say, keep the restaurants closed and keep this closed, because at the end of it, these motherfuckers are going to owe money that they can't afford with no business if people aren't coming in. And our country, instead of bailing out the people first, decided to bail out big businesses. And I'm like, what money are they going to make off of people who aren't making money? Give us the money first. We stimulate the economy. It's not the other way around. And so I get frustrated because I'm like, coño, talk about money. why didn't y'all just pay us out so we could have stayed locked down for 2 to 3 months without worrying about whether or not we were going to get evicted or if our family can eat and all that stuff.
For living, for
And
sustaining.
I could have gone to that Future concert my damn self and been fucking mask off, you know, like, but at least it would, you know what I mean? Like, it would have been worth it. But now it's like we have to figure out how to live normally with COVID instead of trying to stop COVID so we can live normally.
And rush the vaccine while we're at it because we're like, oh my God, we need the vaccine because we're trying to get out there.
Yeah, but that's basically it. We're trying to live normal with COVID.
Mhm.
That's it. You couldn't have said it better.
Una jodienda. All right, so moving on.
It's sad. It's just sad.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Wait, pass the salt?
So now we're gonna move into our plate of the day. So showing up as me, Latina or Black, right? So we really want to dig into sort of identity politics a little bit. You know, as Dominicanas, we know that Dominicans have a particular rep around being anti-Black. And I put that in air quotes because I think that the root of some of those sentiments don't necessarily come from hate of Black people. It comes from a conditioning of an island from dictatorship and presidencies and witnessing the treatments of Haiti, right? Like that makes you feel unsafe in Blackness. And so you do everything you can to distance yourself from something that you see people are suffering in. And so it's like a psychological thing, but it's not like, oh, I see you, you're dark, I hate you. It's not that simple. And I feel like people often try to make it seem like it's that simple. There's also the fact that, like, you know, Trujillo was in office until I think it was like 61 or 63, 1961 or 63.
Yo creo que fue 63.
Right? And that's not that long ago. My parents were already born when that happened, right? Like, you know, so what we're saying is that we're dealing with a generation of people who actually were raised and very close to the hands of a nation where the mode and what they were encouraging was that washing. And a lot of it was subconscious. Brainwashing is a real thing, right? So
yeah, y el maltrato.
Yeah, you know, so I feel like it's too easy to just say, oh, Dominicans are anti-Black. Okay, so where does that come from if we are in fact Black, right? But then, you know, I feel like as a Dominican, and because we are talking about a history that's not so far behind, we aren't necessarily taught how to be Black or own our Blackness. We just know Dominican. So we say Dominican and we know all the things that means, but we don't necessarily know like, oh, bachata comes from Black culture in this way. And we don't know the specifics. So when we claim that, we are still claiming our Blackness, but for some of us, we don't acknowledge or realize that also means to claim that we're Dominican is to also claim some of our Blackness. And then for, you know, some of us que no parecemos blanquito, o lo que son jabao y cosas, you know, like the lighter skinned Dominicans, like they're still claiming Dominicanness. And so, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're claiming Blackness because they aren't Black, but they are from an island that has a deeply rooted Black culture, right? And so like, the participation then in Blackness or the acknowledgement of it feels a little weird because it's like, well, I guess I'm not Black, but I am Dominican. And Dominican culture is Black, so I'm a white person in a Black culture. Like there's so many, and it like makes my head explode, right? But I feel like the depths and the layers of that makes for us being aware of our identity as we go through our lives and our journeys in anything that we do. So my first question to you guys is like, what is or was your initial perception with this idea of your Blackness, like as a Dominican?
Yeah, so I can start. So like I was raised in Dominican Republic, right? So like I went to school and I went to both public and private schools, and I encountered, you know, gente de diferentes tonos de color, o sea, from like Black, más morenito, más indio, todo lo que había. And growing up, I felt the anti-Blackness rooted in my family, but I never questioned it. And I didn't know so much where it was coming from, you know, because the history that they teach you in DR about Trujillismo no habla mucho o no habla casi nada de que Trujillo era un racista.
Right, so they don't
Trujillo was Black himself. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, they don't talk about that. They just teach you that Trujillismo was bad and it was like whatever. And you still have people in the island that are pro Trujillo. So it's like
They're
growing up,
they're the equivalent of white nationalists on the
exactly. And like I grew up listening to like comments that I thought back in, I was like, that's rude, but era como no te sientes con el chamaquito. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, si te está siguiendo un moreno, un haitiano, ya tú sabes, corre. Like things that were really, really, like there's no way that you can that you could be okay with this. But I was growing up. But my first realization came when I transferred to Clark University, that I met Afro-Latinos. I was like, and like my friend earlier, she was telling me that one day I made a comment that it was not okay. And like she approached me and she told me why it wasn't okay. And it's because for a very long time, I was conditioned to experience in this country racism towards me. And it's crazy that I was conditioned to experiencing that racism towards me for having my hair like this. Pero yo no entendía where that was rooted from. You know what I'm saying? So when I first came to Clark University, that I had the opportunity to learn about what it meant to honor your ancestors and how I am a reflection of my ancestors, and that I identify as an Afro-Latina. I'm Black. Like I embrace that. And I actually took the time during college to learn a little bit more about the history, the Trujillo. And that's where I was like, yo, so when my aunt said that meant this. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like it's something that it's constant and it's forever evolving. And I don't like, there's people that they have reached a point where their identity, where they're like, así que yo me identifico, this is how I feel with my Blackness. But as a Dominicana, as an Afro-Latina, and as someone who's proud of, the Blackness that's rooted in the island, I feel like I'm still unpacking that. And I still have so much more to learn. And I'm still figuring it out. How do I go about educating my family? Or do I just ignore those comments that are hurtful to me and to, other, like my Black fellows, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, how do you navigate that? And I don't think there's not that, like, I don't know, like it's good to have these conversations because you get inspired from them and you learn new ways. But that's such an individual journey too. But you got all your ancestors back there, you know what I'm saying? So it's like individual, but then you got your people, and then you got to root for them, and like you got to create those spaces. But yeah, it's just a journey. And I think now I'm at a point where like I'm accepting the hurtful things because I'm changing the narrative for the way that I was taught, if that makes sense. And it hurts, learning like cómo que la gente de mi patria puede ser a veces tan racista con otros hermanos. You know what I'm saying? And it's even more hurtful, but it's just, yeah, like in college, I had a lot of friends, and, like some of my best friends, they were from Haiti and like Dominican. So like, it's like La Isla Española is coming together, and we're having these conversations that make us uncomfortable, but it's okay us being uncomfortable with it, because that means it's growth, and we're learning new ways how to educate our families and how to take more ownership of where we come from.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? It's funny. I learned this, I think last week, that like, because I always said, oh yeah, the island of Hispaniola, but it was originally actually is IT, like not IT the same, but the name of the island is IT, right?
No way, what? I don't know that.
Wait, pero spelled como?
I was gonna say, I don't remember exactly how it was spelled. I was in a clubhouse room and they were talking about it. But like the guy was saying, he was like a like professor of something. And he was like, actually, if we go before Spain and all that, actually the name of the island was IT, right?
Wow.
It was close to Haiti, but that's how Haiti got its name. Like Haiti got its name from the root of where the island name come from. But this idea of Quisqueya and all this stuff comes through. And think about it, Hispaniola, it's Hispanic, he's Hispanic, like it's not, but that's not what the island was. The island was never rooted in Spain. Spain arrived. They didn't create it.
Yeah, that's so good that we're learning.
Like at the root of it, Hispaniola was the name that it was decidedly given. as
No
an island,
way.
not that it is born with. Yeah, and I'm actually like, I want to do more research on it. Literally, it blew my mind because like we were talking and somebody had said Española, and we had been saying it the whole time, right? Like instead of trying to say, oh, DR versus Haiti, we were saying like, you know, and the island is one island. Somos Española, nosotros toditos somos blah, blah, blah.
It makes
Like,
sense
wow.
though.
Actually, just want to chime in.
No, but it makes perfect sense. Even in the name of it, like Española, it's true. That's a name rooted in like, Spain. Like it's not, wow.
It sounds like Spain.
Yeah.
Like
It sounds like Hispanic. It sounds like
Española. Sounds
yeah.
like Española.
Wow, that's nuts. That's crazy.
But it's the way, it's like you guys, it's like you pointed to, and then I want to let Jaylee answer too, but I think it's so interesting because that's what I say is that like the racism is racism, and no matter how they developed it, it doesn't make it not racism. But I think it's important to understand, because then when we get mad at each other, if we take a moment not to get mad at each other, but to get mad at the oppressor together, then maybe we can shift the conversation in a different direction, because we can talk it to death. Yes, Dominicans can be racist. Yes, the Dominican government treats Haitians terribly. Like all of these things are true, but understanding the source of it, I think, is key for the people who don't recognize the racism or don't want to call it what it is. I think they have to actually see how many generations of being fooled is behind the opinion that they hold. And perhaps if they knew the full truth of the opinion that they hold, that maybe it'll be easier to get them to stop being so fucking racist.
Exactly. And like you, como que when I was learning about the history, I was like fire up, and like I was gathering this hate towards like, not my family necessarily, but like racist Dominicanos. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then now that I had to unlearn that, but it took me time to understand that it comes from like el trujillismo, Valerie, like relax, like not, you know, like you don't have to generalize where something that makes you feel so proud of, like being Dominicana. So it's, you know, it's like a process of learning.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and speak a little bit from at least what I feel that I can consider that I can bring to the plate, you know, to the table to talk about the conversation, because I was born and raised in Rhode Island. So I'm pretty much, let's say, Dominican American. Pero yo en mi corazón, yo me siento 100% dominicana, como que if I would have been born there. But my family, both mom and dad, were pretty much, I would say like 85%, like they look like me. Like my whole family son blanco, ojo verde, rubio, de los dos lados. Yo sí te cuento que I've had a little bit of that experience, as Valerie was saying, I think more with my family, in terms of the racism. Like I do remember desde chiquita, always, que it was like, uno veía una persona de color and it was like, I don't even like to use the word because it's so ugly, pero uno decía como, mira ese negro que viene caminando, o mira quién es esa persona que está, como que right away it was always a negative reflection towards somebody that had any sort of color that was any darker than what I was.
And Prieto was like the worst of it.
Like, that was the word.
Ococolo.
It like is vividly in like my head because I remember it. And I remember always also like not questioning it at that point, but I would always fight with my dad. We would have conversations about this. And like, I think there was a time when I was in school, I think around middle school, that I had some sort of passion with African-American history, like literally. I think we can add, like social studies was like one of my favorite subjects. And me and my dad would always go at it and sitting at the dinner table discussing, like me trying to like, como que on their side. And my dad's like, no, because this and like we would go at it about this. So it was something that I've always been passionate about. I've always been a person that I don't look at color. I don't look at anything, like desde chiquita. Pero I have been, I think last year, so we launched the store on June 18th, and then June 19th, and during June fue que pasó todo lo que pasó con los rallies, tuve con todo. And I remember during that time, I learned a lot from Valerie. I remember during that time, I comenzó como que lo de white passing y lo de all these things, you know, that you needed to, for me, were all like new. Like I'm a person who like, I live in my bubble. Like I'm not really, you know, I don't expose myself to so many things, but I do have a voice and I do, for some things, need to be heard. So I remember when all that was happening, I was like, but I don't understand the white passing. Like, I'm not white, I'm fucking Dominican. And like, I'm Dominican and I might be white skin, but like Valerie's Dominican, she's a little bit more morenita. Like I have other Dominicans that are like black, más negrito, but it's like, we're all Dominican, like at the end of the day, you know? So for me, like those are the experiences that I can probably like talk about, that I feel comfortable about, you know, to share here in the discussion.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that, because I think that especially, which is why I even started the framing as a like blackness, but specifically around the frame of being Dominicana. And I feel like the same can be said for Boricua culture as well, right? Like, but it's all coming from a lot of the same thing. I think that the thing that makes DR stick out past Puerto Rico and a lot of other places in the Caribbean, right? Because even Cuba, right? Like Cuba has a bunch of Afro-Latinos that are suppressed and like whatever, but because we share the island with the first free fucking Black nation in the world.
Yeah.
And the root of our history is like in DR, when they teach the history, they say, oh, well, we, you know, yeah, we got our independence from Haiti because Haiti was trying to like enslave us. And make
Robarnos todo y hacer brujería en nosotros y toda esa vaina. And you're like,
and no one bothers to actually see what Haiti actually, if you reverse and look at it from a different perspective, they weren't trying to enslave people and stuff like that to oppress the Dominican. They wanted the whole island to be a free Black nation, but people did not like that. But the idea that the leadership were going to be these Black people after we've had the experience of Spain, right? Like in understanding Spain and knowing that culture, y eso era fino, y esa gente vinieron en estos botes, and things that we didn't have on the island originally. It's kind of like, no, fuck this. I want the nice shit. I want the white people shit. And
like glorifying whiteness.
You know, and so we were taught to glorify it in a way that literally like, oof, I mean, like we could talk about the history for a day, but I'm just saying that that's why I framed it around that, because yes, like, you know, if white passing, whatever term you want to use, like, sure, you are not like Afro-Latina in that way, but you are from an Afro-Latinx culture. You are from that culture. So I think it's important to allow people to understand what their place is, and you can't allow them to understand it if you don't even allow them in the discussion. You know what I mean? Like to learn, like if you were to trip up and say something wrong, like con amor, we can correct each other. And it's not about hate, because ultimately your goal is to want to learn and grow and be better.
Like there's so much unlearning that needs to be done. And I think that when it comes to this conversation, todo lo que tú estás aprendiendo, and I feel like this sense of like getting everything right. And it's like, no, sis, I'm learning. And este es mi país también. And with that comes the history and the baggage and the good and the bad. La playa, pero también lo malo.
Yep.
The crime rates. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I feel like there's this pressure that's placed, digo, en las voces dominicanas, I would say las que están acá in the US, because the conversation is constantly flowing, because in the art, I don't really sit on the dinner table talking about my Afro-Latin, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't do that, but here it happens a lot. And like, I went to college here, ahí también pasaba mucho. And I feel like there's this pressure of you having to know and having to get all the answers. And it's like, no, I'm doing my part. You do gotta be educated. Porque tampoco te ponga a hablar de algo que tú no sabes. Because shut up and allow somebody that knows to speak. Pero it's okay for you to have the good intention in your heart to learn and to be a voice or be an ally. You know what I'm saying? Like, and know where you stand, but do take up space, because your voice does matter.
Yeah, 100%. And so sort of to transition into the fashion beauty world, right? I'm curious, what is the perspective that is taken on, or the way in which Afro-Latinas are represented within fashion or not represented? And are there any like overarching stigmas or stereotypes and assumptions of like what fashion should look like for them because they're Black, or is that like not a thing? I'm just curious about putting an Afro-Latina in the context of this fashion industry world here in the United States, right? Like, what does that even look like? Do they even get to be an Afro-Latina, or is it like nope, you gotta pick a side?
I think I'm gonna speak a little bit to here, but also a little bit to DR, only because I've been trying to educate myself and work. Now that we're working on the collection in DR, like I have a call with a friend of ours that has a modeling agency in DR, because we were looking at kind of updating and ¿cómo se dice? Como allowing the space for other perfiles to be part of Posh Palma Styles that is not just me and Valerie. Like, we don't want you to come on the site and you just have two people to look at. Like, I want all shapes, sizes, colors, like everyone to be on the site. So now we're like, you know, digging into more with that. And I know in terms of like, let's say Dominicana moda and like, you know, Dominicans being in the fashion scene, I feel like in terms of Afro-Latinidad, in terms of color, hair, like all of that, I think it's slowly starting to be accepted. I don't think it's like 100% that's what I see on the fucking runway. But I think number one, I always see is the health issues. Like the fact that like how you look, like in terms of like your weight, right? So you're a 6 feet tall, like skinny ass woman who's dark skinned with a fro. But like, why can't I see a curvy ass woman down the runway? You know what I mean? Like, I think that's more of the issue of what I'm seeing. I think in terms of color, hair, and all of that, I think it's getting better. The world is changing, gracias a Dios. But I think in terms of the stigma, when it has to do with your appearance of how skinny you are, like that's still like in
There.
Priority.
Yeah, it's
They
still
care
like,
more about that than they care about your race. Is it?
yeah, like it's like you could be black and skinny, but that's okay. But like you can't be black and like you got curves. Like no, like that's what I'm more like interested in learning and seeing how the world continues to evolve. And with the store, we're gonna do our part to incorporate that, you know, because we can control what we can control again. And again, whenever our voices could be heard in those spaces, we will talk. And hopefully little by little, that's how change will happen.
Yeah. I mean, look, the only thing that bothers me with that, well, there's multiple things, but like one of the things that bothers me is that I think that people in that industry does not know how to differentiate between it being trendy, like being trendy, and you actually having the intentionality to change what has been in place for years. And I feel like now, como curly hair is very trendy, and I feel like there's a lot of things that do come from like, you know, like Black women's fashion that they invented it, and now it's being taken on as like a trend, you know, and it's like they're still not giving them credit for that. So I feel like I don't know if when will we get to that point, but I do feel hopeful for, you know, people like us creating spaces and like making sure that there's more women and men being represented, you know, porque también men do go through that. And you know, that's like, we can talk about that for days too. So it's just, I don't know. I think it's that a lot of people, it's just so trendy to like even to be Black, like, you know, and it's like, it's not okay for you to use it as a trend or as your Black card that you can play when you want to and when you don't want to. Yeah. So I get
to be Black, to be woke.
Yeah, like, oh, I'm so woke right now. And then, you know what I'm saying? Like, so like I don't think the spectrum is clear. And I feel like people continue to misuse it and misjudge it. And people still get taken advantage of.
And I think a lot of that, what you guys mentioned, has to do with the people that are running the industry still. Like, even though we're out here making these strides towards like trying to diversify everything that's being put out, you still have a bunch of old white people that are investing in the industry and
exactly.
So
and that tells you el dinero, o sea, like
the
money,
power.
El dinero pesa. Entonces, like, but that's why we gotta keep putting in the work. So in a few years, we are the ones allá making these decisions that create change desde abajo, de donde nosotros empezamos. Sorry guys, my cousin.
No.
But yeah, create so we could be the ones at the bottom creating the spaces.
Yeah. And I also think that like, and part of where like the question came up for me is because like even in my own journey into I mentioned I'm not a fashionista, I'm not into it. A lot of it had to do with the fact that I wasn't seeing anybody who looked like me in American culture, either TV, fashion, whatever, to know who to look up to, if that makes sense. And definitely not in DR, like definitely not in DR.
Yeah.
Right? So it was always so interesting feeling like I could claim a style because everything I felt like it's technically not for me, but I guess I can participate. And before I knew I was Black, right? Like that culturally Black, you know, I would see the girls with the Jordans and the Pepe jeans and stuff like that in New York. And I would think that stuff is popping, but my mom would not dress me like that because we don't dress like that. The African American girls dress like that. So it was like, all right, so I can't dress like the African American girls, but also the Dominican girl fashion. I'm sorry, the like bright ass colored pants or the bright ass colored shirt.
And the tight ass clothes too. Like you can't have a shirt that's like a little flowy. It's like, no, it's tight.
And there was this whole trend for a while. Remember where there was like the plasticky jewelry where it was like
yes. Why was I just thinking that too? Like everybody
yes,
they were really stepping out in like Pretty Girl, but it was supposed to look like Charlotte Russe from 30.
Yes.
You know,
the long necklace and like the flats. Remember the flats?
Yes.
Oh my God.
You know, and so I was just, and I wasn't really into it, but I was like, well, more Dominican girls just like this. And my mom would often, because my mom actually, her first job when she came to the United States was dressing models on the runway. So she's very much into fashion. And like my mom would love to meet y'all and talk for hours and hours about fashion.
Oh yeah, I would love to meet your mom.
She loves that shit. I was just always like, but none of it matches. And I went through a little like punk rock phase, and I was like, that's what I'm into. And my mom's like, no, eso es de Satanás.
Satanás.
No, like you cannot just
emo.
Ella como media
emo, like
media punk rock, media
emo, like an emo girl.
like, you know what I mean? So it was so hard to find an identity in my fashion because my identity was not represented in fashion. So I was sort of like, and I'm an indecisive bitch. Let me be clear. I'd be indecisive as fuck. So it's like I would try things, but if I wasn't being validated and if other people didn't think it looked good, I didn't even trust and know if I thought it looked good. And half the time I was trying stuff, it was to fit in and not because I saw it and I was like, this. And then when those moments did happen, then the fact that I was big, porque hello, yo tengo mi chicho, yo estoy en chicha, right? Like,
No, estamos todos
en chicha después de 20. It was so hard to then find clothes that I felt sexy in that I could wear even being fat. Like I just was like, well, I like a lot of stuff. I love open, like one of the things I love to see is like open back things. Yeah. Oh, I love open back. I got a 6-pack back here that cannot support, you know, and that's a lot of conditioning. And so for me to undo the conditioning of I'm not supposed to wear that. And you know how we are like Dominicanos, we are criticones.
Oh, 100.
You know, and like I remember one of the last, the quinceañera I was talking about, the last time I was in DR, I wore my natural hair.
What'd you wear?
I wore this, honestly, I had gotten this dress from Macy's. It was it was a guest dress. It was cute. It was like, it was one of those like, it has a string here, but then it has like the frizzy, not frizzy, but you know, it kind of looks like flowy here, like that shoulder cut. And it was like cute and black with like these nice, like vibrant flowers. But I also wore my hair natural, which was appropriate for it, but also my hair was in transition. So my curls didn't look like this. They were looking a little hurt. and my aunt got into an argument the next day, you know, all the like neighborhood bitches came over to my other aunt's house to like talk shit and debrief the whole party. And this neighbor who I guess didn't realize I was of this family was like, ay, esa, la gorda, que tenía esos cabellos fatal, Dios mío, porque yo no sé por qué ella no se fue a un salón y yo no sé ese afán con ese rizo, porque nadie estaba ahí con rizo, pero ella está llegando con rizos y blah, blah, blah. So, for people who speak English, she was basically like, oh, did y'all see that fat chick who just looked atrocious in her dress and her hair was curly and like, why didn't she just get a blowout? And she said it didn't fit the occasion, that I was disrespecting the occasion by not having a blowout, because we know better that when we go to events, we got to go to the salon, right? And my aunt lost her shit and was like, well, just pa que tú sepa, esa fea es mi sobrina.
She came through though.
Se la comió.
She came through the aunt. That's so dope though.
You know, and it's because I think like it's taken some time. Like at first when me and my sister went through a natural hair journey, my aunts and my mom were like, are you sure? Because transition is hard, and transition honestly is not cute.
It's like the worst part of it.
Like I look so fucking I don't like using old pictures through my transition.
Girl, if I'm gonna send you some pictures of me, I looked hurt.
Yes.
I even asked my boyfriend, I was like, why were you with me back then? My boyfriend was like, you're the most beautiful girl ever. I'm like, son, I would break up with me. Like I broke up with me. Like I'm breaking up with me back then. Like,
right. But you know, I feel like for me, if the affirmation of even the transition and seeing what it looks like, and even having a fashion guide, gosh, if there was a Posh Palma back when I started my transition that like even covered like how to style your hair during its transition type shit, right? I literally needed to find influencers on the internet. I needed to find the Carolinas, the Ada Rojas. Like I needed to find girls just like me to do the work or undo the work rather that the fashion industry and the beauty industry had done on me. That I feel like I couldn't participate.
Y por año, bro, because if you're telling me that it was, vamos a decir like a year, but it's years long of you believe in something and then breaking that belief because it's not true. But then how do you find the people that can reaffirm you that you're doing the right thing because you feel lonely? Like transitioning feels so lonely because you look at yourself in the mirror and then you don't like what you see. But then your hair listens to you, so you gotta be kind.
Yeah,
you gotta be like, baby, them baby hairs, or like do something because you know. But I feel you. It's a lot, and I think it's also like there's certain outfits that you don't feel like. But with this outfit, I feel good with a pineapple. You know, but when you're transitioning, sometimes our outfit would look nice with the hair down, but it's not looking how I would want to. And then you look at the picture of the girl with the beautiful curls too, and it's like, okay, is this helping me, inspire me, or is this messing up with my self-esteem?
Yeah.
And you gotta like recognize that and place those boundaries.
A lot of what in terms of like clothing, like I know with the store we talk a lot, and for me, as my own brands, like I talk about Gelsandra Guzman, who loves styling, who loves clothes, who loves creative direction and working with people and building brands. Like I always talk about you being confident in your own skin. Like at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what I give you to wear. Like, you know what I mean? Tú podías entrar en ese cuarto y podía el cuarto entero de la quinceañera decir que tú estabas terrible. Y si tú eres una mujer que está confident, tú dices, bueno, pues a ti, o sea, you just brush it off like this. Like it's
exactly.
You know what I mean? So that to me is even more, it's very psychological. Like when it comes to fashion, like it fucks with you. But like at the end of the day, like you gotta embrace you. And you gotta love you.
Like be your own hype girl.
And yeah, you gotta be your own cheerleader and wake up every morning and be like, I'm beautiful. Like I'm enough. I'm gorgeous. Like I got this. You know? And then you can rock anything. You can rock anything. Outfits from anywhere. And you look hot and you glow. And people feel it. It's energy. You out there in a room and people are like, yo, what is Jelly doing? She looks beautiful. Look at her. And my curls might be looking terrible, but I look beautiful because I'm confident.
Yeah. It's like this reminded me of something that we were in a mastermind class on Tuesday, and from like led by a Gabby Guzman, an amazing, incredible woman. She runs this community called Las Comadres here, a virtual community. And she was like, you have to be comfortable with making people feel uncomfortable. And the moment that you like feel that in your heart, like you're like, I'm okay making even your own family uncomfortable. Estoy cómoda, and I'm sipping my mojito and I'm minding my business, rocking my curls con frizz or sin frizz because there's good days too. You know, and it's like, you know what I'm saying? With the dry part, like, you know, the sections are drier, and although you apply product, but it's still dry and you don't understand why the science behind it. But it's like you have to be comfortable. And like I think I have reached the point, and I could say that like for me, where I'm okay putting on whatever I want and rocking my curls however I want, and I do not care because I chose to be kind to me. I'm choosing to be kind to Valerie because I am my temple, and I'm choosing to love me as I am. And si el pelo un día se levanta and it's not okay, I'm like, well, hoy we're gonna rock it how it is, because I can't go crazy. Like, I'm choosing, guys, to be at peace here and to make it through 2021.
That's it.
That's it.
Yes.
Chiquita cosa, but that's it.
I love that. We gotta just show up like, let's
Yeah.
go. You gotta do it.
Oh, yes. I love it.
Send us an audio of this
Send
so
us
we can remember, and I play it on the speaker every time we
Send
do
us
like
a voice note, please. So whenever I wake up and I'm like, I put it on, I'm like, ooh, yo, that's like laugh.
send us the audio so we can play it on the speaker.
But no, I think I love everything that you said, because I think that, you know, that ties beautifully with identity, right? If you're not comfortable in your identity, the blackness, the Latinidad, the intersection of that, then it's hard to show up as yourself. And how can you rock anything? Like, you're supposed to wear the clothes is not supposed to wear you. You know what I mean? So like, you know, I think that there's such an important thing. And for me, I've tried to begin to experiment with buying things that are usually not clothes that I would wear, but I see it and I'm like, oh, I really like it. I just don't believe I can wear it, but maybe let me try to wear it and see if I can pull it off. And I feel like I was just slowly getting into that, and then COVID hit. So then I didn't really get to like.
But now you're getting excited about certain times that you go out, so that's when you start experimenting again.
And I'm like, yeah, I want to get excited about clothes. Like, I haven't really been like clothing shopping much and stuff like that during COVID. But I feel like knowing that the stores are open, I might start to venture out because, you know, when the spring comes and when it gets warm again, that's when I'm most excited to like put spring and fall are my two seasons that I'm like, I like to dress for, right? But I feel like I kind of want to make that attempt. I want to make that attempt, and not just about like, oh, how do I rock it looking like with my curls and who I am naturally, but también, like you said, the curviness, right? Like, it can't be the case that I'm waiting to be fashionable when I get skinny. I've been trying to get skinny my whole life and it hasn't happened, but I got to get fashionable at some point.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like,
No, you don't believe at that point. Like, you're not living, and you got to live and you got to embrace it. Like,
yo me he hecho tanta vaina. Yo tengo celulitis desde los 12 años. I always tell people this story. And I'm like, I work out as Valerie, like more than anyone. I eat not like 100% healthy. Pero yo me he hecho masaje. Yo he comprado crema. Yo he tratado todo. Y la celulitis no se va. So yo llegué a un punto donde dije, hasta linda se ve en la celulitis porque I can't do anything anymore.
You can be so bad to yourself. Like, that's like literally being so rude to yourself.
Yeah.
For no reason.
I'm like, dude, I'm gonna just rock the shorts and it is what it is. They pop out and like, I have 2 kids, like demasiado bien me veo yo right now. Like,
yeah, you gotta, it's like my boyfriend, yo tengo stretch marks, and he's like, oh, those tiger stripes, I like them. I'm like, I'm your tigresa, you know, like, but you gotta just do whatever you gotta do to be happy. Like, ya de verdad, I gave up. I'm like, I'm not trying to, like, with the curls, there's no perfect curl pattern. Like, oh, the 3Bs, 8. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. For buying products instructions, that helps. But like me looking, I'm not gonna be like, this is a 3B, this is 8. Like, I don't know. I'm just it's an afro and I'm happy I have it.
Right. Amen. And so I want to ask then, I love the way, I just want to say I appreciate how descriptive you guys have been, because like you've answered like other questions that I haven't like asked outright, but they're already answered. So I'm like looking over here and I'm like, well, what else can I even ask them? But I think the one thing we haven't touched on is just being woke and being conscious, considering everything we just discussed, right? Like Skittle said, we're still in an industry where there is a dominance from a class that isn't necessarily interested in progressing the work that you guys are doing. So can you talk a little bit about the challenges and benefits of being woke while you're running this business and as you're creating and building your vision?
Yeah, I think when we face that question constantly from people around us, but specifically the finance people in our team. You know, we have primarily 2 people that are hardcore finance, and they're constantly asking us that question. But I feel like something that we have realized is that you gotta walk the walk. And I am sorry to break it, but sometimes, yeah, people try to be on the fence. No, sis, you got to pick your stand. And I think right now we're living in a world where like intentionality is so important, and buying with a purpose and buying with a cause, and like supporting local and supporting woman led, that I am sorry. We accepted what might, disadvantages from like the finance, what they're advising us, that the things that might come with it. And we're okay with that because we are willing to walk the walk, and we are okay, and we are choosing, and we are remaining firm with what we believe in. And we are not going to, just because we're going to make an extra dollar on that, we're choosing not to, because it's not part of who we are and where we stand and where we want our brand to go. So it was hard to make that decision, but we had to make it like a few months back, where it came down to something that we had to decide that involved, either we want to be more profitable or and it was like, no.
Yeah, it was funny because there's been like 2 or 3 times where things happen, like either socially, like in our environment and the world, like things that could be impactful with Posh Palma Styles. And sometimes we don't talk. And then when we come to talk, I'm like, yo, I have like 2 semanas con dolor de barriga, like thinking about this, like, I don't know what to do, but it doesn't feel right. And it's, again, you're going back to trusting your intuition. Like, we have that. You got to trust it. Like, if I don't feel good, like for the store, we were going to launch June 19th and it was Juneteenth. And me and Valerie spoke and we were like, yo, we can't do that. Like, why are we going to launch on that day? Like, but it was like a whole dilemma. And then we were like, no, we got to just trust it. And we launched the day before. We give it the space it needs to be given. And with the store, it was like that. We want to do things with our time. We don't want to be on anyone else's time. And we also want to represent what we want to represent. We don't need to have to call to anyone else.
No.
Because
no. And it's like, then you're not staying true to your purpose, or like what you're, and there's not one thing that I hate most than hypocrisy. And it's like, you can't be a hypocrite, especially when you're trying to build with intentionality. So that's why, like, there's no in between. There's no middle point. There's no, I'm on the fence. You're either in or you're out. That's it. And I think, it's mad hard, but it's like that. But then it comes down to it. It's not that hard too. Exactly. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. If you're willing to, it's so funny. I'm like, companies are so quick to put up a Martin Luther King quote or like put up a Black Lives Matter sign and stuff, but they won't action it. They will perform it. They won't action it. And then somebody will be like, wow, they donated X amount of dollar, but nobody wants to acknowledge the people who are losing X amount of dollar for upholding integrity. It's the same donation. The value, the difference is one is a donation, it's a petty, and the other one is a principle. And
exactly.
the principles cost them something, but they don't abandon their principles, even though it cost them money. And so I think that it's beautiful that you guys have taken that stance and that approach. I've like worked with brands and collaborated with the brands, like and me and Skittles, even as ladies who bochinche, who've been really tiptoe around like being clear around blackness and like, oh, can we even say this if we're not Black? Like, why should we have a stance? It's not our fight, and it's disrespectful to act like we know what all these excuses. And I'm just like, I hear excuse, I hear excuse, I hear excuse.
Exactly.
If you want to make something happen, you find what is quote unquote appropriate. If you don't feel like it's appropriate for you to do it one way, then find the way that's fucking appropriate.
Or ask somebody, like, don't be afraid to also ask and seek guidance.
Educate
and, like,
yourself. Yeah.
Like, take the time to educate yourself, because I think that's one of the primary reasons why people are constantly being misinformed. Está bien. Some information comes rooted in evilness and not wanting you to know. Pero edúcate, bebé. Yeah. Like, there's so many resources too, and there's so many people, and you don't have all the answers. Like, recognizing that you don't have all the answers, it's already mad fucking progress.
Yes.
So, like, we recognize that we Posh Palma Styles, we don't got all the answers, but we gotta walk the freaking walk. Do not tell me that we're gonna be like, how are we feeling? Nah, sis, we got this. This is how we're standing. This is how we feel. And if you don't want to support us, girl, bye. We're going to get our community to support us.
Right. Because I say it all the time. People think that our community doesn't have the money to spend. Bullshit. Jordan has made so much money off of this so-called community with no money. Motherfuckers line up to spend money. You mean to tell me that we're not gonna spend money in our own? Like, I'm excited for the fashion line. I'm excited to shop. You know what I mean? Like, already, just because I love y'all. I don't even know what the fucking clothes looks like yet, and I'm already hyped to whatever I identify with in whatever you put out. That's the item I'm gonna buy, and it's the purchase is not just the item; it's also the like, because I support that shit.
Exactly. And that's what I think. That's what, for me, it's what I wake up in the morning and I'm like, that's what ignites me. Like, to get, like, we personally handwrite a note to each customer.
Wow, I love that. I love when I order things online and I get a hand note. It's such
a we write it, like Valerie writes it, I write, like we write it with our hand. It's like, I want you to know who we are. Like, I want us to feel connected. Like, it's not like you're coming in and you're just buying, you're checking out and you're like, peace out. No,
it's an experience.
You want to be part of us. Like, we want to sit and have conversations like we're having right now. Like,
yes, and this has been such a fruitful conversation today. I have to say, I'm so happy that you guys have been our like season, reignition, to use the word.
Yes.
I just have to say, I'm very proud of you, ladies. I so fucking respect the work that you do, and I just am so excited to know that the work you're doing is not even going to just stay here in the States, but that it's expanding to DR. Because for as much shit as people like to talk about DR and all that shit, it's one thing to talk shit, it's another thing to go and actually support the cause on the ground, because we have to acknowledge that Lo Dominicano, it is 10 times harder for them to show up in this wokeness and blah, blah, blah. It wasn't until recently that people in the workplace were allowed to wear natural hair to work. So how could you even expect people to start loving their blackness where they can't even show up to work as Black?
as
There's
who they
so
are.
much work we need to do that goes beyond just yelling at each other for not knowing we're Black or not accepting we're Black. That wakes me up. But then what you gonna do after that? Like, what do I do? Like, what do you want me to do if I'm still living in a system that doesn't support this lifestyle that you get to have in the States? Because even though it comes from oppression, it's a privilege for us to be out here speaking about our
privilege.
because there's a lot of other countries and places where you do not have the privilege to even talk about it the way we talk about it. So I really respect that. And I just wanted to say that and highlight that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, all right. Let us know, where can we find you, follow you, drop your handles, any shout outs you have?
So check us out. Our Instagram for the store is Posh Palma Styles.
My personal one is Gelsandra, GELSANDRA _ la rayita de abajo, Guzman, GUZMAN.
And my personal IG is the Jefa Creator.
Yes, love it. And Skittles, where can they find us?
You guys can find us at Ladies Who Brunch on Instagram, Ladies Brunch on Twitter, and at Julissa for Julissa's personal page with an H at the end, and The Real Skittles with a Z for me.
Bomb content.
Awesome. And thank you all for tuning in this week. And until next time, bochinche.
Bronche!
Yes!